Growing up, my father didn't talk much about his war experiences. He kept it pretty much to himself. We did know that something traumatic had happened in his past, but it really was not anything that he openly discussed. If it were 15 years ago, it probably would have never happened because it was all based on the computer. And I was plugging people's names in on a whim. Just, again, the last person I plugged in was Henry Supchak, thinking, you know, could there possibly be anything on a man that's this old? And there were thousands of hits. People were looking for him. And as I started to read about this person who was a hero and saved a village. Well, this was something brand new to me.
I got hit in number 3 engine. Fire began. I mean, this was a vicious fire this time. We could do nothing about it. We couldn't feather the engines. And I explained to my crew real quick, fellas, this is it. We practice how to bail out of an aircraft. We've got to do the real thing right now. So as I got up out of my seat, I don't know what made me look forward through the windshield, but the plane was in a dive now, not a vicious dive, but it was going down, on course to hit a village. I climbed up back into my seat real quick, took a hold of the wheel, and turned it over to the left as much as I could, and I held it there, locked it into position, and the plane began to make a left turn. Just as it did that, I jumped down the hatch, put on my chute, dove out. 5 seconds later, the plane exploded. The Germans who were waiting for me, one of the guards pointed his machine gun at me and he said, "Pick up your chute." When I first met Ander Haas, I was in solitary confinement. And his voice came in one day and he's saying hello in German. I knew it was a kid, but I could tell by his voice. He gave me a small bottle of water and a piece of bread wrapped up in a paper. That's the first I ate in about 5 days. Mr. Ander Haas was a very wealthy individual, and he was bound and determined to find me because he finally hired a man by the name of Jacob Meyer.
And so I got in touch through email with Dr. Meyer and gave my dad a heads up that somebody from Austria would be calling him. And this man took a really active interest. He was thrilled as the historian, and he made a special trip over here and cordially and formally invited us to come over. And it was very, very life-changing. As people read the final mission, it's not as much, you know, the beginning, yes, it's riveting. It's a story about, you know, my father's sacrifice and what he did to save the village. But then there's a section in there that to me was difficult to write because it was very touching, him going back and finding out what happened to his crew. And I can't say that any one of them has a great story. For the younger generation, I think that they could really learn the meaning of war and its ramifications afterwards, and it's not something that goes away just because you take that uniform off and you're not sporting the medals. It's always there.